I truly believe money and relapse has a connection. I believe debt and relapse has a connection. The reason I do is because, it's something I experienced. I used to have a really well-paying job, especially when I was using. For whatever reason, I had a well-paying job when I was using. More and more I've been in the program and doing different things for my sobriety. You know, everybody talks about how wonderful life is getting sober and how everything changed. Mine has, but in some ways it hasn't changed for the better. It opened up my eyes and I realized that money wasn't necessarily everything. But I can tell you this, paying the bills is something that's fucking important. I'm going to be sharing some stories even on my channel, just the realness of what this shit is that we go through when we do get sober. Because let's face it, when life fucks with us and things happen out of almost our control, we have that numb-it-all pill to go back to. One of the biggest things is money. There's nothing worse than having debt collectors or bill collectors calling you nonstop, telling you that, hey, you're behind. And the worst part is you're sober. You really don't want to fuck anybody over, but you can't pay them. So then you're stuck in this fight of wanting to numb it. And that's a reality. And I know that there's people out there that face that reality. I know that there's people out there that have relapsed from this reality. And it's one of those things, it's hard to put your ego aside and go, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. This is what I'm going through, because we feel that we're letting people down. At least from my take is how I feel, is like I'm letting the people down around me. I'm letting my family down. And like I'm almost less of a man. I know that's not the case, but man, tell my fucking brain that sometimes. Being an addict, it sucks because you know the quickest and easiest way to fix it. And it's a temporary fix, and it's a fucked up fix. But you numb it all and you stop it all. It's something that becomes that internal struggle. And I think that's why it's so important to be active in your sobriety and be active with people who are in sobriety, so that you don't fall into those traps. You don't fall into that trap of, you know what, fuck this. Like, I want to take a break from life. You know what, I can't even afford a vacation. I just want to take a break and I want this shit to stop. The insomnia starts kicking in. The anxiety starts kicking in. And it's worse too sometimes because you're sitting there and you're like, when is this going to get better? Like, I got sober. I paid for my addiction and things seem to like meld into place. And now reality is smashing me in the face. I can tell you this, no matter how bad it gets, I would never, ever trade my best day being fucked up for my worst day sober, because at least I can handle it. The worst thing about being fucked up was, yeah, it's that temporary numb-it-all, fuck-it-all pill. But when you wake up the next day, the shit's still there and it's compounded. It's even worse. Trying to tell our brain that, remind our brain that's two different stories. That's why I think you got to reach out to people and you got to talk to people out there. You have to talk to other people in sobriety, knowing what they're going through, knowing that everything isn't all roses and daisies and, oh my God, I'm sober and life is wonderful again. It's not the case. It's a struggle. It's one of reality, though, of being coherent, that we can actually fight through it. But it doesn't just magically fucking get better. It takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of setting goals, and it takes a lot of finding what your passions are, to making it okay and going back and living even in between your means and living within your means and knowing what you want out of life. That's one of the hardest things I even found, that the fighting with that sobriety, and when it comes to money, is what do you want out of life? It's taken me a while to readjust. Because at one point, all I thought I wanted was money, money, money. And why was that? To fuel my fucking addiction. Because that's all I cared about. But then all of a sudden you get sober and you realize that there's so much more to life than your addiction. But then it's trying to find that balance. I was actively using for 16, 17 years. And it wasn't nonstop all the time, but it hit really heavy points. And now I know that that's never going to happen again. So it's like, what do you want out of life? And that alone is scary. That alone can trigger some relapse. You get a little bit of depression. You look back and you go, fuck, look at all the time that I wasted. God, if I would have been sober during all of that time, think of where I'd be now. Hindsight's 20/20. And especially when we wake up from that fog, it is 20/20 and it's fucking clear. It's clearer than no other. And we're going, damn, I shouldn't have did that shit. If only I had that money now. If only I would have did this now. If only I wouldn't have moved. If only. And you can't beat yourself over that hindsight. But finding some goals and passions of what starts to really matter to you in life, I think, is so important. Otherwise, you just start drifting. And I've been there where you're kind of drifting and you're like searching with a fucking spotlight to what can I focus on? What can I focus on? And you got to focus on something. You got to have something out there, but you also got to watch what your triggers of relapse are. I mean, one of my big ones is money. There's nothing like the bill collectors calling saying, "Hey, you owe us money." You know, I didn't mind the bill collectors calling before because it was like, fuck, I don't fucking care, but now I do. Now I give a shit. But now I don't want to numb it anymore. So, I mean, if you're going through and going out there, I mean, it does take some readjusting of your lifestyle. A huge readjustment. You got to make sure everybody's on board with that readjustment, because if not, it's going to fuck you, and it'll fuck you hard. You have to get your life realigned to what do you want out of life when it comes to making it through and getting by. What kind of career do you want? What kind of job do you want? You know, it's never too late. You know, people always said, never too late, never too late. And for the longest time I was young, and I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, it's never too late. I'm fucking 25 years old. What the fuck you talking about? Well, fuck, I'm 39 now. And that thought does kind of creep in sometimes where you're like, man, maybe it's too late. No, it ain't. I mean, at 38 years old, started a nonprofit organization at 39. I got sober at 36. And it's been a bumpy, rough road. But I wouldn't trade it. And I remember the whole thing. So if you are struggling out there, I mean, getting sober is huge, but knowing what your triggers are is even bigger. And I do believe there is a correlation between income and addiction, of us relapsing, because when everything starts to compound on each other and compound, it gets to be a struggle. And you can't take the elephant on all at once. You know, you may have to claim bankruptcy. You may have to do something that's drastic to kind of try and hit that restart button. But it's okay. Just remember this, without a clear head, you're not going to get through the shit. So keeping a clear head through it, not using that fuck it all pill is everything. Focus on you and do you. But you got this. And it's worth it. It's not giving up. It's getting involved and being active in your sobriety, and remembering that it might numb it for a day, a week, but is your life really worth that? Is that temporary numbness worth it? Over what? Over money? Over a job? No, it's not. You got this, and you got to do you. You just got to do you, and you got to want it that bad. If you haven't hit that like and subscribe button, hit that like and subscribe button. My name's Eric, and I created a nonprofit organization, Driven Together, that bridges the gap between therapy and a crisis hotline of tools, resources, whatever it takes just to get by. Knowing that you are worth it, providing experiences, shares, coping tools. Even down below, I have affiliate links to things on Amazon that I use personally to help me with depression or anxiety, weighted blankets, fidget cubes, fidget spinners. Even have a link to BetterHelp. Online therapy, why not try it? It's trial and error to find out what works for you. That's the whole thing with everything in life. Trial and error to find out what works. Find out what works for you, though, and don't give up. Because you got to remember this, you're the most important person out there in the world. Hit that like and subscribe button. Comment down below. I'd love to hear your experience. I'd love to hear your shares. And just remember this, that you're a BAMF. You're a badass motherfucker. You've made it through 100% of your worst days to make it through to today. That shows how pretty fucking amazing you are. We got this. It's a us thing. It's a we thing together every single day.